Imagine waking up tomorrow to a headline that literally chills your blood. The United States economy has officially collapsed. Banks shutting their doors, markets in absolute freefall. I mean, it sounds like the plot of a Hollywood disaster movie, right? But today, we're diving into the very real, very devastating global domino effect of a hypothetical US crash. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what happens when the financial engine of the modern world just suddenly halts. So, what if America's economy actually collapsed tomorrow? Just picture the sheer chaos of that morning. Within hours, it wouldn't just be Wall Street completely losing its mind. We're talking about massive bank shutdowns worldwide, companies laying off millions of workers in a frantic, desperate scramble to survive. You check your phone, and the global financial system as you know it is entirely paralyzed. And the scale of this devastation? It's instant. Trillions of dollars just disappear in the blink of an eye. Poof, gone. And this panic absolutely refuses to respect international borders. It spreads like a wildfire, from New York over to London, straight through to Tokyo and Mumbai. See, when the US economy stops, the global engine doesn't just slow down a little bit, it violently seizes up. To really grasp this, we need to step back and look at the immense stakes involved here. Think about the number 25. That is the percentage of the entire globe's GDP produced by the United States alone. A quarter of the world's economic output. It isn't just another country on a map, it's the literal engine of the modern world. If that massive central gear shatters, the whole machine starts shaking violently. And to understand exactly why that is, we have to talk about the US dollar. It is the absolute backbone of international trade. Think about it: oil, gold, most global commodities, they are exclusively priced in dollars. Nearly every country on Earth keeps billions of them in reserve. So even if you have never set foot in America, this economy heavily dictates your daily cost of living, your fuel prices, and the food on your table. It's just deeply ingrained in our daily global survival. Okay, let's map out this timeline. Imagine a massive panic, maybe a huge banking collapse or a debt crisis, where the market crashes by a staggering 40%. Hour 1, total Wall Street panic sets in as major banks start failing. By hour 12, trillions are completely erased as investors rush to dump their assets. And by day 2, global markets freeze entirely. Why? Because when investors fear America, they fear absolutely everything. But we really have to remember that behind all this abstract macroeconomic data is a stark, heartbreaking human reality. Pension funds shrink, retirement savings evaporate. Millions of ordinary people lose everything overnight. I mean, think about it. What would happen to your life savings if the global systems holding them up just vanished? We're talking about the instant destruction of lifetimes of hard work. And driving this massive global freeze is one truly staggering number: 90. 90% of all international transactions involve the US dollar. 9 out of 10. That is an overwhelming, almost absolute dominance. And knowing that really sets the stage for the unprecedented international shockwave that would follow, because confidence in the world's reserve currency would just completely shatter. This triggers a brutal, rapid-fire chain reaction. Step 1, the dollar drops, which turns currencies worldwide dangerously volatile. Step 2, almost immediately, imports become impossibly expensive, sending global inflation straight through the roof. And finally, developing nations heavily burdened with dollar-denominated debts face an absolute nightmare. Entire nations would default. A crisis in Washington rapidly mutates into a catastrophe for Asia, Africa, and Latin America. It really comes down to this brutal dynamic. When America stops buying, the world stops selling. The United States imports trillions of dollars worth of products every single year. So if Americans suddenly stop spending their money, the global reaction is swift, and it's devastating. Factories close up, exports plummet, and international trade simply hits a brick wall. This global recession ripple is immediate, and it is highly physical. Cars from Japan, they halt right on the assembly lines. Electronics from China pile up in these giant warehouses. Pharmaceuticals from India stall right at the ports. We are looking at massive global unemployment and an international recession that could honestly easily eclipse the financial crisis of 2008. So let's zoom in for a second and look at a specific, highly interconnected emerging market to really illustrate this localized devastation. Can India survive the storm? This is such a vital question to ask because India's economy is deeply and increasingly tied to the United States. It's one of their biggest trading partners. The shockwaves in India would be incredibly severe. Indian IT giants depend heavily on US clients, which means those tech contracts would shrink instantly. Foreign investment would flee the Indian stock markets in an utter panic. The rupee would weaken dramatically, and the livelihoods of millions of people tied to the tech and trade sectors would just vanish overnight. But here's the thing. The fallout goes way beyond just economics, because economic power creates political power. For decades, the U.S. has been the undisputed dominant superpower, but a crash of this magnitude, it inevitably accelerates a massive shift in political power, triggering the ultimate fight for global leadership. We would literally witness a sudden, violent geopolitical paradigm shift. First, countries would urgently start reducing their dependence on the dollar. Next, alternative financial systems would emerge to fill that massive vacuum. And finally, entirely new global trade alliances would form. We could easily see nations like China pushing much harder to position their own currency for international dominance. Which brings us to the ultimate world-altering question. If the established post-World War II order shatters completely, who leads the world next? The question isn't just can America recover anymore, it's who takes the reins of global power in the terrifying aftermath. Now, I know it's easy to view all of this as a purely hypothetical movie plot, but history warns us, no financial system is ever truly invincible. An economic earthquake of this scale might seem unlikely to us today, but it is absolutely not impossible. Just look back at these historical precedents. The Great Depression, the 2008 financial crisis, the pandemic recession. Each and every one of these crises serves as a really harsh reminder of just how incredibly fragile our interconnected financial systems truly are when hit by an unexpected shock. To be fair, we have to look at both sides impartially here. On one hand, you have these enduring American strengths, right? Massive innovation, unmatched technology, strong institutions, and obviously the world's most influential currency. But on the other hand, there are growing vulnerabilities, rising national debt, deep political divisions, and intense global economic tensions. And honestly, those vulnerabilities are exactly what make this doomsday scenario a plausible reality. It all leaves us with a pretty sobering realization. Our economies are more connected than ever before. The collapse of the U.S. economy is not just an isolated American problem, it is a deeply human, inescapable global event. The shockwaves would violently travel across every single continent, directly affecting billions of lives. Because no economy exists in isolation anymore, our shared future hangs in a remarkably delicate balance. Understanding the world's largest economy truly means understanding the future of the entire world. So I'm going to leave you with this haunting question to reflect on. If the U.S. falls, can the world stand?